Okay, good evening, folks. Dr. Freedom here with you. Time some Dr. News from in and around the universe that may or may not. You go squeak. Okay, we did a little reaction to the Christmas teaser last night. Looks like it's going to be amazing. They told us, a little bit, but not enough to really spoil anything that's going on. How many here noticed Toby Whitehouse is the German soldier pointing the gun back at Mark Gatiss? Kind of fitting, considering they've both written for Doctor Who. It's a cutthroat business, but also the intermixing. I had somebody here who told me who the actress's name who's playing Polly, and that was very interesting. That they're going to have that little segment where you see sorry about that. I forgot my phone notifications on the first Doctor's companion. Polly was originally played by Annika Wills. I think it's Lily Travers. I'll have to look it up just to be sure. Is going to be playing Polly, and it's very interesting that scene where the first Doctor shows her the glowing hand, because if you go back and watch Power of the Daleks, which you can now, she's the one who's trying to convince Ben Jackson, who was then played by Michael Craze, who sadly is no longer with us, that that is the Doctor and all that, and he's like freaking out and all that first few parts of the episode. So matter of fact, I have to go back and rewatch it again. It's a really good seeing it back, even though it's animated. And like I said, unfortunately, it looks like the Wheel in Space reconstruction is a telesnap, and I'm like, why the hell did you bother doing telesnaps for? Telesnaps have been fan-made and around for a very long time. So reconstructing a telesnap to sticking on BritBox when you can go watch it on YouTube, like Daily Motion and stuff like that, I really have no idea. But let's get into the stuff you want to see, because there was a ton of stuff to go through for Comic-Con, and there was a little bit of hubbub. We're going to go over that at the end, okay? So, all right, let's get into this. Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, if you want to watch the Doctor Who Comic-Con panel, somebody originally sent it to me in 2 parts. And, of course, this is via Flicks in the City, I believe, and they've divided it also for some dumb reason, probably to get more hits on their webpage. Because what they did was they take it all the way up towards the end on the first part, and then they put Capaldi's standing ovation and his speech afterwards, where he stands up and he gives a little speech about each member of the cast. And such an incredible man. And while we're looking forward to Christmas, it's kind of like at the same time you're not. It's going to be bittersweet, because this is going to be Peter's last episode. And part of you wants to think, okay, the show's going to go on, but it's always tough when a Doctor is leaving. It always is. Okay, you can also watch it on the Anglophile channel. They have it all in one thing. Like I said, the funny part is you can probably find like 10 different versions of it. These were the first 2 I had on hand. I'll put links to each of them, the article and this one here, below in the description box for you. So, either way, they were all over the freaking room, the press. And it's just amazing to me how many different like YouTubers and stuff got to do interviews and stuff like that. But well, how many here noticed the I'm Filmy guy who did a few things here and there? I'm like, dude, go back to your barber. He's ripped you off. You only did half your hair. All right. This is the Empire. Sorry. This is the Empire live presentation where Stephen Moffat, I even used a clip of this on my Facebook and my Twitter, says there was no real backlash, and he's right. It's just there's a lot of people out there who are, disgruntled and all that. But I don't want to go into all that right now until after we get to the last article, okay? The thing is this. The show is about change. The show is about being fluid. And the only way it has survived all this time is by making incredibly gutsy moves. If it hadn't been for the gutsy move to bring in Patrick Troughton to replace William Hartnell, this whole thing would have stopped back in 1966. If it hadn't have been for the gutsy move to take John Pertwee, exile him on Earth, John Pertwee being pretty much known, mainly for as a comedic actor back then. Once again, like I said, I can go through the whole list. Without risk, there is no reward. And they took risks on just about everybody. But I'll go more into that maybe on another video. Okay, unfortunately, we did find out Pearl Mackie is exiting the series after the Christmas episode. She will not be back for Series 11. That's kind of sad too, but at the same time, I'm sure her career will take off and all that. Bill was incredible. Her performance as Bill was incredible. So I can see her moving on in the future. This isn't like the old days where you got pigeonholed and you're pretty much stuck. You know, look at Karen Gillan, for crying out loud. I bet she calls up Matt Smith now around. Hey, Matt, you got money to eat? Okay, moving on. Well, Matt's on the crown. He do it. And Arthur Darville became a time traveler himself on Legends of Tomorrow. But okay. Pearl Mackie and Michelle Gomez talk about their last days on a set. And this is a quickie. It's only about 2 minutes. But, you know, everything with, you know, Michelle Gomez is funny. There was so much stuff to get through. And like I said, I tried to get you a little bit here and there. But it was like, boom, just to narrow it down to this much, okay? So just some funny stuff here. All right, here's some pics from the Christmas special. Thing is, they don't give a whole lot. Like I said, we can get that one anywhere. And I said just to pick a bill, really. But this pic right here, like, you see what I mean? It's a ripoff. Where's the pics? Maybe I won't even bother putting this one in the lineup because I thought there was a little bit more pics to this. Maybe I missed them. All right, moving on. This was the thank you, like Peter Capaldi tribute video that was shown at San Diego Comic-Con. BBC America, you know, put this together. But the thing is, if you don't want to watch it in the screen here, click right here, and then click on the YouTube icon down here. Okay, and then watch it full screen. You know, see, I don't know why. You see, this will at least get you to the video. So because this right here won't even let you full screen it, and they crop it down to like a really bad aspect ratio. But at least this will get you to the video. Okay, so remember, hit play, and then go over here to click the YouTube button. It'll take you to the YouTube where you can go to full screen and get a really good look at it, all right? Okay, exiting Doctor Who star reveals advice he gave, you know, to Jodie Whittaker. I almost say Jodie Whitfield. I don't know why. But, you know, like I said, I'll let you watch this one for yourself. But, as a matter of fact, here it is. That's right. That's what he said. I said just enjoy it because it's absolutely incredible. So I'm going to let you watch that right there. It's about just shy of 7 minutes. Okay, Pearl Mackie and Michelle Gomez on the 13th Doctor. This was on Sci-Fi Wire. This is about 3 minutes here. There's a lot more videos here with, you know, Pearl Mackie and Michelle Gomez. Like I said, I couldn't find the one I was looking for, though, where she died laughing because she couldn't. Michelle Gomez didn't know who Heather was. She was only reading my bits of the script. All right, moving on. Doctor Magazine 515. Next issue, we'll take a look back over the last several years of Doctor Who as its outgoing head writer, Stephen Moffat, leaves the show with this year's Christmas special. So, lots of little stuff right there. Boom, boom, boom. This is the usual lineup of stuff that's in it. And this will be going on sale this Thursday. All right. Colin Baker says that Doctor Who fans weren't very kind to Capaldi because they wanted eye candy. Because I thought he had a rough deal. Matter of fact, the fans were very kind to Peter Capaldi. They'd been conditioned to want eye candy. The first and second and third Doctors, none of them were eye candy. They were strong, definite characters. Peter Davison was a bit eye candy-ish, I suppose, but don't tell him I said that. So, you know, Colin Baker weighing in, you know, because he's a doctor who got a really, really raw deal. He was the one who got, oh gosh, he got. Matter of fact, look it up. I'm not kidding. It's almost unbelievable what they did to Colin Baker when he was the sixth Doctor. They really screwed him over. All right, Doctor Who Sophie Aldred reveals what she thinks happened to Ace, and it's very heartbreaking. Heck, it's always what you call it? I'm sorry. She believed that there was one timeline. If the show continued into the next season after this, after Survival, Ace was going to be taken to Gallifrey, dropped off, become you'll go into training at the academy to be a time lady. Now remember, things were a lot more fluid back then. Okay, so it could happen back then, and that was part, I think, of the Cartmel master plan. And then they're going to bring in another companion for the next season. I can't remember if it was all the way through or halfway through it all, but I think it was like halfway through or something like that. So. She talks about when, you know, she was supposed to be appearing on Sarah Jane Adventures, but sadly, that scenario never came to pass with the, you know, passing of Liz Sladen. So there's a lot of stuff that was going to go on for classic fans on the Sarah Jane Adventures, but sadly never came to pass. And like I said, it was even sadder that we lost Liz Sladen then. So, oh, here it is. That's right. How did Ace finally leave the Doctor? Maybe she never did. Maybe she had that heartbreaking thing of having to see, maybe he had that heartbreaking thing of seeing his companion grow old and die. That would be what happened to Ace, because she never really had anywhere to go back to or any particular relationship she wanted to go back to. But I would like not to find out what happened. I think it's really great to leave that as a mystery. Now, there's been a lot of folks around there passing the idea of why didn't they let Ace or another companion come in for the Sarah Jane adventures. You got to remember, Liv Sladen's passing was a shock. There was only a handful of people she had told that she was ill, and RTD felt he really couldn't see the show going on without her. But even then, as of I think it was a few months ago, or was it last year, he even talked to somebody and said he kind of regrets that decision now. But like I said, unfortunately, you got the spinoff class, and we won't even talk about that and why it screwed up. All right, Red, White, and Who, the story of Doctor Who in America. Okay, now this is basically, every American Doctor Who fan has a story to tell. Fans of the iconic British show love to tell stories. And all of them, from the casualty obsessed with the happy regale, others with the late of how and where they discovered the greatest science fiction media franchise ever. So, me, like I said, I can tell you, I discovered it around 1983. My first episode was the Sontaran experiment. And like I said, it was kind of weird because the only reason I actually flipped to it is because Star Trek wasn't on that night. There was a Cleveland Indians ball game on that was taking over the channel for the night, and that was my only real sci-fi fix at that time of the evening. It was around, I think it was around 7 o'clock. So I was flipping through the TV guide. Next thing you know, boom, right there, PBS channel, which is TV 25 WVIZ then. Doctor Who, the Sontaran experiment, and it said science fiction fantasy, and that's how I got started. All right, moving on. Tennant tops Doctor eBay listings. That's right. All right. So, So I declare, basically, Tennant takes the Sonic Scepter with nearly 6,000 current listings for David Tennant on the site. Tom Baker comes in a close second. And third, in the third place, most recent, was Peter Capaldi, most recent Doctor, and Matt Smith falls in at 4. So kind of a little nice, weird thing going on over on eBay, okay? It's like, word on. Okay, and this is where we hit the bullshit factor. Now, I'm going to leave this up right here because Peter Davison said something that some people took offense to, and they took it way out of context. And then next thing you know, the keyboard warriors are out. I don't know why people are worried about social justice warriors. It's the frickin' keyboard warriors who do more frickin' damage than anything. Sitting behind there and from 50 billion miles away, typing out opinions on shit they have no idea what they're talking about. And apparently there was such a backlash against Peter for saying this particular thing that got taken, out of context, not the right way, that they're saying he's left Twitter. The thing is, though, like I said, as of right now, his Twitter account is sitting there and it's still there. The thing is, though, he hasn't really put anything on it. So it could be he's just, because he hasn't deactivated the account, maybe he's just taking some time away to clear his head. This was his final tweet. All this toxicity about a sci-fi show has been sobering, so I'm calling it a day. It used to be fun. Now it's not. Mustache. This is sad. This makes me want to grab somebody and wring their heads out, because Peter Davison was the 5th Doctor. When he was cast in at his point in time, he was the youngest Doctor as of that date. He, really went out there. Sure, there were some shit stories. There always are in Doctor Who. But the thing is, he also delivered a lot of great classic stories and still does on Big Finish Audio. He deserves respect. You should be sitting back and wondering, am I going too far? And I'm talking to people who are on both sides of this argument. Start acting like adults. I'm not kidding. This has gotten beyond silly. It's getting beyond pathetic. The decision has been made. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to deal with it. Now, if you want to take your stuff and pack up, congratulations. But I'd rather say, look, give her a chance. At least support the show for the next couple of years. And then maybe, she'll decide to leave, and then another Doctor will come in that you enjoy. Don't go throwing hissy fits. Don't jumping on people because their opinion does not match yours. It just, come on, people, be mature. And I'm getting tired of saying that. And like I said, whether you're for Jodie or against Jodie, or whether you're for a female doctor or a male doctor or whatever, please think next time before you sit up and start bombarding somebody with rude ass comments because they said something you think, that you recognize as, not politically correct or something. And I'm, like I said, I'm trying to play both sides of the fence here because it's gotten out of hand. It really has. It's gotten silly. All I can say is, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be supporting the show, but I'm not going to badger other people about their opinion because we have guys on the Omega Files here that have different opinions from mine. But I'm not going to sit here and shove my opinion down their throat, or if they say something I don't like, I'm going to browbeat them on Twitter. That's just immature. It really is. All right. Well, folks, until next time, take care. Enjoy yourself. And, be kind to each other. Well, I was going to say something stupid like Springer, but I can't. So good night. Take care. I'm saying good night over and over again. Stop it. Ah!